Yeah.
Why, Karen, why do you think this masterclass series is so important, especially at this time?
For so many reasons. And probably the main reason is that to some extent, we are all feeling lost and we're all looking for a way to shine and or prosper. And as healing practitioners, whether we're coaches or whether we're therapists or wellness practitioners, we are especially being faced with this question that is so much more pronounced than ever before of how to transcend our own trauma-based triggers, our own fears that are showing up in elevated and escalated ways every day, and how to really show up on our highest potential in our fullest and authentic expression of ourselves, because we are so committed to the belief that we can heal this, even this, even this, even this, we can transcend, we can heal. That's why we were attracted to mind, body, spirit healing in the first place. But here we are, our feet are to the fire. We have people looking to us for either a way out or a way in. And you and I have joked around before that we're friends at the end of times. But here we are, right? On this, whatever it is, timeline where we're feeling it at the personal and the collective, and we're feeling it amplified even more so because everyone is telling us, sharing with us, and coming to us in their most vulnerable positions, saying, I'm losing it. I don't know. It's dizzying. The news is dizzying. The triggers are dizzying. The divisions are dizzying. And how do we, as healing professionals, be wayshowers at the end of times? It is the end of times, in my belief, of one particular, I don't know if you want to call it timeline or frame of consciousness, but we are all being challenged to level up. We are all being challenged to live by what we have been attempting to teach ourselves. We are all at this divine initiation. So I love that we're naming this webinar series Liberate Your Potential, because like all of our potential is just kind of hanging there and we're being pushed to the limit. What do you think?
Oh, Karen, well, I mean, you've just articulated it so perfectly and you've nailed it, it's just in this beautiful way. And I absolutely believe that. And for me, the end of times is really about the death of the ego. And part of the death of the ego are all the shadow programs coming up right now. And so for people in the wellness professions, our shadows are coming up too, big time. And a lot of that shadow work, in what I've witnessed in myself and in others, it has revolved around ways that we keep ourselves small. And hence the idea of, what you were talking about, Karen, about time to step up and to liberate our potential. Because I think many of us recognize and have felt for a long time that we have hidden potential that we're not fulfilling. And so the reason we're not is this big pain point, this big wound of, that keeping ourselves in these old egoic patterns. And a lot of them affect us in terms of how we're able to thrive. So it is related as well to the money shadow. The money shadow gets played out for people who are therapists and coaches and wellness practitioners. Many of them have those experiences of struggle with money or struggle with the relationship with money. And that's really about what you were referencing about the, the keeping that potential down and not living our potential. So the two go hand in hand. And that's why you and I are on the same page, because we so get that connection. We've connected the dots between our deepest gifts and thriving. And it also has a meaning for the planet, because we're meant to birth the new earth economy, which is an economy that's founded on higher values and higher consciousness. So that's an important part of this as well.
Yes. And, we're figuring it out as we go along. And we believe, I think the first step is we believe in this new earth economy. You and I both believe in that strongly, and we're living it, and we're encouraging each other on it. Okay. What does the new earth economy look like? And there's no place for ego-based or trauma-based programming in this new economic infrastructure that we are creating with love and with dedication to love as the highest aspiration, that we truly believe that's possible. We intend for it. When you were talking about the new earth economy, I thought about a conversation I had with a colleague last week, which I think is so relevant. And this colleague and I were just talking about our practices. And I got to sharing my neighbor, who I'll call Jane because I don't have her permission to talk about her, although I'm sure she wouldn't mind. But anyway, I'll call her Jane. My neighbor is a marriage and family therapist, and she uses emotionally focused therapy a lot. Like, in therapy land, it's called EFT, emotionally focused therapy. She uses that with couples. She's got like a 6-month waiting list. Prosperity, consciousness in action. She loves her work. She talks about couples arguing in the therapy room, and her face lights up. She loves it. She loves it. I'm like, what the heck? I don't get that, right? But guess what? That's her healing signature. This is her mission. This is what she was born to do. She attracts it in. So I'm talking with a colleague who's experiencing difficulties with client flow coming in, prosperity coming in, even though she's a very talented therapist. And she said, well, how EFT, emotionally focused therapy, is supposed to be a way to bring a lot of clients in. Everyone who's in a kerfuffle in their marriage or in their partnership, they want to do emotionally focused therapy. And this therapist has been trained in emotionally focused therapy. She's putting it out there. She's doing all the right things. And so when I'm thinking of my neighbor who is in not doing anything different, but is attracting all this clientele. So I asked my colleague, well, do you love couples work? Do you love EFT? She goes, we are in a time right now where if we are not in alignment with that, I call it your healing signature. One way you can know if you're in alignment with that is look at whether you're repelling or attracting, right? Look at how lined up your healing work is with prosperity coming in. Because eventually that will be an indicator. That can be a perfect indicator. Maybe you're not meant to do the thing that is prosperous for someone. Just because you're talented at a particular technique or therapeutic intervention doesn't mean that's the one you should be using.
Absolutely.
So,
I love that, Karen. And what you're highlighting is that we have this kind of soul mission or soul vision, which is, I think that's another expression for what you call it, the healing signature. And when we're stuck in a lot of our shadow ego programs, we can't always discern what that mission is. So we can go down all these wrong paths for ourselves, even with the best intentions as wanting to be of service to humanity. We still may not be, liberating our potential and living up to our potential.
That's right. You know what? We like to say in mind, body, spirit healing, we always begin with intention. But you're right, it doesn't end there. It's not enough to want to heal and to have an intention. There has to be a commitment to looking inward, to doing our own shadow work, to liberating our own potential. Yeah. And that is a key piece of the puzzle. Yeah. Yeah.
So beautiful. And this is why you and I are so excited about this masterclass series, because this is the time, right? And we talked about that. If there isn't a more ideal time than now, I don't know. I don't know when that would be. It's now.
Now in the ugliest of times is to be your most beautiful self. And
oh my God, that's so lovely. Yeah, I love how you put that, Karen. In the ugliest of times, it's the opportunity to be your most beautiful self. That in itself is a huge chunk of wisdom. So
really?
Yeah, it is. It is. And so I just feel really blessed to be collaborating with you on this. And I love the gifts that you bring, and you're clearly expressing your healing signature. I mean, we both light up when we talk to each other. So because we know that we're both on that path, and we know. And so we have that same passion for wanting to support other people on that path, other coaches and therapists and wellness practitioners. And
yes. And do you know what? I also teach that one of the ways that you can look around and take inventory, am I in alignment with my healing signature, my mission, my cherished living philosophy? Look at how the synchronicities are showing up for you. And, Carl Jung talked about this, and probably 1,000 mystics before him. But truly, the synchronicity of you and I meeting and resonating, right?
Yep.
Look at where the synchronicities are pointing you toward, because that's an important indicator of, again, your potential. Are you transcending the ego-based programming, shining out your potential, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm grateful for the synchronicity of meeting you and working with you.
So am I. And what you just alluded to, I find is fascinating. Well, I love Jung too. And in the work that I do around the money shadow, I look at some of the Jungian archetypes and how they get played out in terms of our relationship with ourselves and other people and money. But what you were just talking about was really embarking on this path of trust, like of us. It's almost like a faith walk of needing to just let go of what we think we know, and just trusting the journey, and being okay with sometimes not being clear on things. Sometimes we have to be in that void. And it's leading us in the right direction, but it's emptying us out so that we can see more clearly. And that's part of that whole journey of deepening into trusting ourselves, and trusting that, we each have a divine consciousness that's guiding us. And that's really key, because we can't transcend and we can't transform without that connection to our divine consciousness. And I know that that's what you're calling upon, Karen, in your work. And it's what I call upon in my work too. And
in terms of people, let's say that you work with, let's say, I love that word. I use it a lot because I can't think of a synonym, but let's say transcending or doing shadow work.
Mhm.
And so they have learned, or they are learning, or at least they're taking direction toward that divine consciousness through many different initiations, which are not always comfortable. But are there things that are kind of like dead giveaways for you that, oh, there's still some shadow work hanging out there, right? There's still a shadow wall to move through as you're heeding the call of divine consciousness, inner healer? Like, are there things that stand out for you that let you know, oh, yeah, there's still some shadow work
Do you
here
mean
to be done?
specifically around money? I think it's kind of across the board, like whether it's shadow work on, a relationship or a family relationship, or shadow work on money. I think the same kind of indicators pop up, and it's whatever has a charge. And you and I were talking about this earlier about triggers, that anything that triggers us emotionally is usually pointing us in the direction of something in our shadow that it would benefit us to look at. So
Yes.
that to me, and I know in my own personal journey, that's always the first kind of point of reference to identify what's going on in terms of my own shadow. And so it's that journey, like that Carl Jung talked about making the unconscious conscious. And that's the first step, is recognizing the trigger. The tricky part is not getting pulled into the trigger to the point where you're overly associating with it, or the emotion or the thought that's reacting to the trigger.
Yes.
And so it's really, really key to cultivate that connection to divine consciousness. And one of the primary ways that many therapists use, and other types of practitioners, coaches as well, is mindfulness, like of cultivating that witness, the ability to witness but not get pulled into. And so that's a really important thing. And otherwise we can actually, and Karen, you talked about the trauma, otherwise we can re-traumatize ourselves. Like when we get pulled into our triggers and we get attached to them, or we're pushing them away and we're in resistance to them, that's actually a form, in my mind, that's a form of re-traumatizing ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. And we're often pulled down quite a ways into that reenactment before we realize, oh, something's up. I know I've done that, right? I don't even realize that, oh, this is all trigger based. This is all shadow.
Oh yeah, like you and I aren't gurus. We know that. Like
in a way we are, but let's just pretend that we are anyway.
Okay. Yes. Like we still get triggered and we go into those unconscious places. But I think, the mastery is in spending less and less time getting out of those places. So of getting back to the witness, and then, re-establishing our connection with our divine consciousness, which in Jungian terminology is really the superconscious mind. And, when we're there, we're getting into that place of transcending the duality and the triggers that are painful and wounding.
Yes. Yeah. And so, I think that's what we're talking about with the new earth economy.
Yeah.
Right? Which we're developing the whole, I don't know if it's going to be a parallel mental health system or what exactly it's going to look like, but we're developing this heart and love based, transcendence focused healing paradigm that's placed in this totally different economic structure, where the prosperous flow of energy, of resources, of time, of money is all they are all lined up because, you know, money has its own energy, time has its own energy, abundance has its own energy, and they are all lined up with that frequency of love, presence,
Absolutely.
non-striving, everything we talk about in mindfulness. But
Absolutely.
okay, now we're actually going to live it, because the new earth economy is not about coming from a place of striving to work to address lack. It's more, oh, there's lack. Where's the what do you call it, Mary? The polarities, right? Where's the
Yeah.
shadow? Right. So it's a very different look at why is lack showing up? How is it pointing to my evolution, the collective evolution? Where is it guiding me? So everything will be different in terms of abundance, prosperity, right? Economic flow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's, you know, even that, I like the term prosperity. I like the term abundance too, but in terms of the polarities that we get stuck around, that get manifested through our economy and the way we relate to money and the egoic patterns, is it's either excess or lack. Like it's that kind of polarity. There's too much or not enough. And so the ascended balance state, that's the one that we will be realizing and living from, is the unification of those opposites. So it is exactly what you described, Karen. It's prosperity. So when you live from prosperity, you're not worried about lack, you're not grasping for excess, and you're not resisting or pushing away lack. You're just in this place of relaxed flow. You're not worried. You're in a place of relaxed flow because you know that your needs are always met. And so there's just none of that grasping and pushing away dynamic going on. And I know it sounds very, but I
It
really do
doesn't. I
believe
know.
we can
I know
make
it.
it there.
I
We can
know
create
that.
this.
Yes. Yes, we can, and we are creating it. I can
Absolutely.
feel it in my own consciousness, right? And I can feel it in the collective consciousness, because it's what you
Absolutely.
just, when you describe those, that polarity, right? And when it, no, it's not the grabbing onto the lack, and it's not the grabbing on to have to create more. But what you really defined beautifully there was, oh, there's the divine, there's the trust, there's the trust in my own divinity, right? My own human, this is what makes us so beautiful as human beings, but we've had it shut down for so long that we don't even recognize it anymore. So we have to like reclaim this power, and that power comes from trust.
Absolutely. And I love what you just expressed, because you touched on this idea, Karen, that it's already a part of us. Like prosperity is part of our divine consciousness.
Yeah.
So when we're living from divine consciousness, we're actually manifesting that in physical reality. This isn't airy fairy stuff. It's absolutely true of how we manifest, because for so many centuries we've been locked in this kind of egoic concept that, you know, we have to stress, struggle, and strive. And it's all about pushing and survival of the fittest. And that is the antithesis to this new paradigm, which is based on living from divine consciousness. And this is how we truly do manifest, because we've had that knowledge shut down. As you said, you know, we've had that part of ourselves shut down. And an important dimension of this is the divine feminine, because you know, we've suppressed the divine feminine. It's not about the divine feminine is better than the divine masculine. It's about the two actually being married again. And the divine feminine are those parts of ourselves that can vision, the intuitive parts of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that can see through our mind's eye, a vision. And that's important. We bring it into reality through that marriage with the divine masculine, you know, but the inspiration comes from that side that then guides our actions, which is the masculine part of us. So I see this as a reunification of these two parts of ourselves, and it has nothing to do with whether we're, you know, gender wise, whether we're male or female, because we all have a masculine and feminine side, but it's about us reintegrating those two sides, reunifying those two sides together. And that's really important for this process that this journey that we're on right now.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, in terms of the law of attraction, I think the consciousness is amplifying to such a point, and these are the things I don't understand, but just feel into, that things are just moving so rapidly. It's almost like the earth is saying, okay, you guys, enough now, let's go. Let's return to who we are. Because for years, popular law of attraction and manifestation work was very much about striving, like do the thing, the mindset work, the motivational work. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't believe that this frame of consciousness that we've all unconsciously or consciously decided that we're going for this, that's lower level. Like we could do so much better than striving, like, you know, like this unification of all the parts of ourselves that we're calling back home, reclaiming our power. This is like next level, right? Law of attraction.
Absolutely. It's like 2.0 or 3.0 or something.
Yeah,
right?
warp speed.
It's warp speed.
Yeah, we're there.
And it's also about the collective. Like it's not about groupthink, but it's about being an individual and doing our own evolutionary work as individuals, but as part of the collective. So it's really interesting. Because that in itself is a new paradigm, like a new way of being in terms of the collective, how we are together with each other. And it's not about the old patterns of needing to control and dominate each other, but it's about inspiring each other and co-creating a vision together, and creating our own individual, or, you know, discerning our own individual contributions to that bigger collective vision.
That's right.
It's really awesome. It's awesome.
It is. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why it's so important.
Yeah,
that we're doing this now. You're right.
That's right.
That's the unity consciousness thing. It's not the individual and it's not the collective. It's both.
It's both.
Right. And here we are.
In harmony.
Yeah. And this is the creative force. It's powerful.